Hello and welcome to today's technology tip. Glad you joined me. In 5 to 7 minutes, I'd like to explain how you would translate your data, whether it's in a chart or some other format, into Excel. Specifically, we're going to create bar charts so that you can use that in a variety of ways. My main purpose is to show students how to do this so that they can create high quality graphs in their lab reports for science class. So why don't we follow along? I'm going to navigate to the lab report that was started for this purpose, and this happens to have been the hand soap lab that was previously started for at least Mr. Smith's class. So I'm going to scroll down to the chart. It's at the top of page 3. This should look familiar for some of you if you're following along and you've done this before. So you'll see that the chart here is highlighted. There's no data yet. That's not really an issue because we're going to just put in some sample numbers. And again, the point of this is to show students how to create bar charts in Excel. So what I'll do is create a chart. In this case, it's already created. I'm going to copy it. So using the hotkeys, that's Control-C, or you can use File Save As, or rather copy, excuse me. Then I'm going to open up Microsoft Excel from the Program Manager. Then what I'll do is I'll paste it in. So you can hit File, Paste, or you can do Control-V. I might resize these just so that they're a little bit more readable. Maybe I'll do the same for these rows. So for the purposes of this demonstration, let's just put in some numbers. So let's assume that the first person in this lab had found 46 bacterial colonies on their part of their petri dish, and let's say there were 25 in the second person's. And then for the regular soap, assume that maybe they had 58, and these are just numbers I'm making up, and then the next person had, say, 60. So one thing what we'll need to do is learn how to do averaging. So what you do is you'll just press the cell that you want the average to be in, come up to the toolbar, hit Auto Sum, and then Average, and that is going to highlight the cells that will be included in an average. So I'll hit Enter. So the average now is 35.5. I want that same formula to show up in this adjacent cell, so I'll just take my cursor and grab the lower right corner of the cell until it has that black X, and then drag it across, and then that automatically takes the same formula but applies to a different column, column C in this case, and now it's the average between 58 and 16, which is 59. So the next step is we want to take this chart and we want to create a bar chart from it. So what I'll do is I'll select all of my data, including the column headers and then also the individuals that participated in that and the average. Press Insert. In this case, we're going to choose a bar chart. In this case, bar charts are used for compare and contrast purposes, similarities and differences. The line graphs are used for cause and effect relationships. Bar chart in this case is appropriate because the two factors are similar but they're not identical. First factor is the use of antimicrobial soap, and the second factor is the use of the regular soap. So here I'm not really doing anything fancy, but you can certainly spice it up if you want to. Here's a 2D bar chart and shows up like this. There's lots of different ways that we can format this to be more complete. So one thing I see that's missing is that there's no title on the top. There's no label on the y-axis here, and neither is there a label along the x-axis. One thing to think about here is how is your graph set up. In this case, the bars are going horizontal. You could flip that 90 degrees so that they're going up and down. For me, this is fine. I like this because it has the color code for the number of bacteria with regular soap and antimicrobial soap, and then the averages. So the first things first is let's do some formatting. So in the Layout tab, click that, and you'll see this sort of survey or group of options. So first we will make it a title, so I'll say, well, what kind of title do I want? Let's put it above the chart. Then I can edit that. Let's say this is number of bacteria say let's just make that different. So we'll say effect of soap type on bacteria number. Make it easy, right? So the reason why I do that is soap type is the manipulated variable and the bacteria number is the responding variable. And let's change this a little bit, make it a little bit smaller so it's kind of on one line. So now we have a title. Go back up to layout. Now I want axes. So let's look at the horizontal axis first. I want a title below. So what are we looking at? This is the bacteria quantity or count or number, if you want to call it that. And then back up to layout, and I want axis title for the vertical side. And so I want to make it vertical, up and down right here. And then this is, let's call it students, call it that. So now we have our title, we have our axes, we have our scale here, we have our scale here. One other cool thing that you can do is include the actual numbers. So we're going to go to data labels, and you can do a variety of things. You can just kind of play around with them. This is a really slick way to just kind of include the data from your chart into the body of your graph. The other thing that you can do under data labels is at the very bottom, outside end, you can do it that way. You can turn them off. So let's just say I want them that way. So at this point, your chart is effectively done. So then you can copy that chart, go back to your your Word document, paste it in, and there you go. You can resize it if you want, make it a little bit smaller. And essentially that's how you create an Excel bar chart from data in Microsoft Word or some other source. So thank you for joining me, and hopefully this has helped you.